Welcome, mages, to Sage of Fables, and boy, do I have an episode for you today. Today, we will be talking about my latest cEDH brew that I've been working on pretty much since the moment it was spoiled. It's Valki, God of Lies / Tibalt Cosmic Imposter. That's right, that Rakdos devil baby. And wow, this has definitely been a journey for this deck. When I first saw it, I knew that this card was extremely powerful right from the get-go, but I had no idea what to do with it. If you've seen my other video, my other cEDH deck, that's Omnath, that's Sans Black, I have never played Black before in cEDH, and so I was like, I hear it's good, I hear tutors are good, so what can we do with Red and Black in cEDH that's not Croxa or World Gorger Dragon loops? And so it's been a bit of a journey, but finally I settled on making a Rakdos Storm deck, which was definitely a challenge, and it's something that I've had a lot of fun working on in brewing and have had just the most fun playtesting. This deck is very silly. And I love trying to find all these different lines and trying to work through it, and it's a deck that definitely it definitely rewards good sequencing and trying to think, trying to think like 5 steps ahead of yourself and in maintaining that sort of plan that you have to constantly build. It's like trying to drive a train down a railroad as you're building the railroad. Hopefully they'll start to feel less so after after getting more games in and fine-tuning the deck a bit. But I wanted to show the deck where it's at right now. And at the end, I'll talk about some changes that I'm looking to make, and some things that I've been testing and how they've been doing, and what I'm probably going to swap out and try next. But without further ado, let's get to our devil baby. It's Valki, God of Lies. 1 and a black, so this is a front face. It's a legendary creature, God. For 1 and a black, he is a 2/1, and when he enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card revealed this way until Valki leaves the battlefield. And then Valki has an activated ability where you pay X generic and choose a creature card that you've exiled with Valki with CMC X. Valki becomes a copy of that card. Wow. Alright, so already a lot going on in the first half. We'll break down what we're looking to do and when we're looking to play what, but let's talk about the back half first, which is, quite frankly, the much more exciting half of this card. It's Tibalt Cosmic Imposter, 5 black-red for a 5 loyalty planeswalker, and it has an ETB. As Tibalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with, you may play cards exiled with Tibalt Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. Good lord. And we haven't even gone to the loyalty abilities. Alright, +2, exile the top card of each player's library. -3, exile target artifact or creature. -8, exile all cards from all graveyards, add red, red, red. Y'all. This card is ridiculous. So this deck is definitely more built around, I guess not necessarily built around, but it's more looking to take advantage of the back half more often. But the front half of Valki is also very, very good and can be a really surprising, a disruptive way or interesting way to interact with your opponents. Both sides of this card are very powerful and, in their own right. So, let's talk a little bit about what this deck is doing. So, as I said before, this is a Storm deck. Eventually, I got to the idea of Storm because after playing against a Birgi deck, and let me pull up Birgi here. Birgi, the God of Storytelling, 2 and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature god. Whenever you cast a spell, add a red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana, steps and phases end. And then the other ability that we don't really care about, but is there, is creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. She also has a back half, which is Harnfell, Horn of Bounty. So you can play our front half, which is Burgi, or the back half, which is the Harnfell Horn of Bounty for 4 and a red, a legendary artifact. Discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. I'll be honest, I've never cast the back half of Burgi. I've definitely lost to it, but I haven't gotten to use it, because generally what we're looking to do is as soon as we play Burgi, we're looking to win. So how she wins in this deck is with the creature called Grinning Ignis for 2 and a red, a elemental. That is a 2/2, and it has pay a red, return Grinning Ignis to its owner's hand, and then once you've done that, you add 2 colorless and a red to your mana pool. Activate this ability only time you could cast a sorcery. So with Burgi, you play the you cast the Grinning Ignis. You get a red mana. You now have that red mana to use its activated ability, and you return it to your hand, and then you get colorless red, which you then immediately use to cast the Grinning Ignis, which with Burgi out gives you a red. So you can see how this is a very nice, tight little closed storm loop where that's going to give you infinite storm as long as Burgi is out. And with that, we are looking to obviously to cast Grape Shot. Grape Shot, do I have that pulled up? I don't think so. Grape Shot is a sorcery for 1 and a red. It has Grape Shot deals 1 damage to any target. Storm. So for Storm, for those of you who don't know, it's a keyword that says you can as you cast the spell, you copy it for a number of times equal to the number of spells that have been cast this turn. Your spells, your opponent's spells, all the spells that have cast increase the storm count. So, another sort of substitution to, not necessarily a substitution, but also an accompanying piece, I guess you could say, to Burgi is the Helm of Awakening, an artifact for 2 generic, and then all spells cost 1 generic less to play. So if you have Burgi and Helm out, that often means that if you have Burgi and Helm out, you are definitely you're going to net mana off of the Grinning Ignis loop. It'll be generic mana. Yeah, it'll be generic mana, but there are ways that with generic mana, can we do anything with that? No. But it's there. It can be useful. It can be relevant. Notably, with the extra generic, you can pay for Rhystic Study triggers so that people won't draw every time you do one of these with each iteration of this loop. So that is notable. And so that is the primary way that we're looking to win. It's a nice, with Burgi, Grinning Ignis, and Grape Shot or Aetherflux Reservoir, it's a nice 3-card combo. Infinite Storm, pretty easy. Fairly low mana investment. So for Burgi, it's 3 plus Grinning Ignis. You need the 3, and then 2, and then you just need to have the Grape Shot in hand, because once you activate Grinning Ignis, you can use that mana that it gives you from activating its ability to then cast the Grape Shot. So a total of 6 mana, which isn't impossible. This deck is looking to just push out tons and tons of mana. This is very mana intensive, very mana hungry deck, and so that's definitely the most concise sort of low mana cost combo in the deck. But we do have some other ones in here. That is, of course, a Breach combo, because we're in red, and you should play Breach, because it's good. So we have Underworld Breach, an enchantment that you can cast cards for their mana cost plus exiling 3 cards for their escape cost. And then at the end of the turn, you sacrifice Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, Wheel of Fortune. So nice way to turn through your deck. We're not looking to win with this, but this can be a great enabler to get cards into our graveyard. That if we, because we're also running Past in Flames so that we can cast instants and sorceries from our graveyard to try and mill more stuff in there. If we have Burgi out, and then if our ad nauseum got countered, all these sorts of things. It's definitely more of a It's definitely more of a value thing than it is like a win the game thing, because we are going to be looking to turn through our deck, and without access to blue or to white in order to make sure that we don't deck ourselves before our opponents, this is just, something that's going to layer in nicely with everything else, all the other graveyard stuff that we have going on in this deck. And then, with that, let's see. Oh, and then we have some wonderful Reiterate shenanigans. So Reiterate is one of the cards that is definitely a notable inclusion in this deck, but we'll talk about it here since we're talking about combos. So Reiterate is an instant for 1 red with buyback 3. So as you cast the spell, you can pay an additional 3 generic, and if you do, if the spell resolves, you put it back into your hand. And then the text itself is copy target instant or sorcery spell, you choose new targets for the copy. So I'll defend more why this deck is in the card a little bit later, but to talk about the sort of combos and its sort of utility right now. So with Reiterate and Jessica's Will, if you don't have Bergie out and you want to combo out with Reiterate and Jessica's Will, you just need your opponents to have one of your opponents to have 6 cards in hand, and then it won't net you any mana, but if that will give you an infinite storm count, because you can choose to add a red to your mana pool for each card in target opponent's hand. So as long as one of your opponent has 6 cards in hand, you can add 6 and keep casting Reiterate over and over again, copying the Jessica's Will that's on the stack. I should probably read Jessica's Will. 2 and a red for a sorcery. Choose one. If you control your commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Add a red mana for each card in target opponent's hand, or exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. So with Reiterate and Jessica's Will, if you have Bergie out, you then only need 5 mana for it to net even 6. Your opponents only need to have 5 cards in hand for you to net even, to just have an infinite storm count. If one of your opponents has 6 cards in hand, you get to net 1 red. If your opponents have 7 cards in hand, net 2 red, which is definitely very, very nice. And then if you also have Valki out, or Valki or Tibalt out, if you have our commander out, you also get to pretty much exile your entire library, which is very cool because, for one, it gets around Hull Breacher and other things that care about you, that prevent you from drawing cards. So it's a really nice way to get around that. And then also, something else that also works that can give us infinite red or just give us an infinite storm count is having a Seething Song and Reiterate. Now, in order for this to work to actually go infinite, you need Bergie. You definitely need Bergie or a Helm out. So Seething Song is an instant that reads 2 and a red, and then you add 5 red mana to your mana pool. So if Bergie's out, this exactly breaks even. If you have Bergie and Helm, you get to net 1 red each time that you copy a Seething Song, which is nice. And then, so those are definitely our Reiterate shenanigans. Just accept that it's in the deck. We'll talk about it later. Don't worry. We'll get to it. But yes. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about how this deck plays, what we're looking to do, and stuff like that. So let's go back over here. So what this deck is it's effectively a Bergie shell. So if you've ever played against a Bergie cEDH deck, it's playing lots and lots of red cantrips. So 1 red mana spells that have some nominal effect, and they allow you to draw a card. Because basically, if you have Bergie out, you cast a cantrip. It's a free card draw spell. So I love that. And so I wanted to take that idea, and then of course Bergie going infinite with Grinning Ignis, and then playing either Aethelflex Reservoir or Grape Shot to just kill everyone. So definitely love that. So great. So when I wanted to take that idea and bring it into Valki, because getting access to black means more rituals, better tutors, and all this sort of, and ad nauseum and peer into the abyss and all these other like really powerful like mana and card draw engines that can really just help you close the game as quickly as possible. So this deck is a Turbo Nas deck, so we're trying to... So especially since our combos, our entire combo is in our 99 without any pieces in our command zone, so ad nauseum and peer into the abyss are one of the main ways that we're looking to assemble these 3 or 4 cards, depending on what's going on the board. So we are looking to basically play as many rituals as possible, get a super fast start, and try and to dig through our deck, pay as much life as we need to try and assemble this very quickly, and try to get under other Staxy or more mid-range or controlling decks at the table, because we are incredibly weak to Stax pieces, as most Turbo Nas decks are, being Rule of Law being the most notable one. So let us go. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. So definitely the weaknesses of this deck is it being a Storm deck, it being a Turbo Nas deck. That means that effects like Rule of Law are going to just absolutely cripple us. And being in a color combination that cannot deal with enchantments, if there is an actual, like, honest to God Rule of Law in play, we just kind of have to hope and pray that one of our other opponents wants that gone as badly as we do, and that we hope to take advantage of it being gone sooner. So, Rule of Law is enchantment for 2 and a white. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. Obviously, in a Storm deck where we're looking to cast 8 bajillion infinite spells, this is a problem. Other effects that are like that are commonly played are like Aethersworn Canonist, an artifact creature human cleric for 1 and a white, a 2/2. Each player who has cast a non-artifact spell this turn can't cast additional non-artifact spells. So that is something that very specifically hurts us, because the way that we're doing is the way that we're generating an infinite storm count is either with a creature combo with Burgy and Grinning Ignis, or by doing Reiterate and Jessica's Will. So clearly that's going to stop us. Thankfully it's just a creature and we can pack removal in order to deal with it. But it's one of those things that if that's on the board, it is a need to answer threat. Other things that that stop us or hinder us. One of them is Grafdigger's Cage. Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. So this turns off Underworld Breach, because that allows us to cast spells from from our graveyard. That shuts off our Past in Flames. This isn't the worst piece, but it is something that we have to very much pay attention to. Yeah, it's like, it doesn't stop us... Sorry. I'm watching a dog named Lulu. And she just saw the cat. Lulu! Leave the kitty alone. Lulu. Baby. She gonna get you. Lulu. Can you hear the cat being real ornery? Come here. Come here. Lulu, come here. Yeah. Yeah, come here. Goodness. Sorry. And Drannith Magistrate, a 1/3 for 1 and a white, a creature human wizard. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So this doesn't outright stop us, but aside from preventing us from playing our commander if we haven't played it already, this prevents us from using Tibalt Cosmic Imposter to cast the spells that we exile off the top, because we are casting those from exile. So that turns off a huge value engine for us. So Drannith Magistrate, big ol' pain in the butt. Null Rod, classic artifact for 2 generic. Activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. Since we are not in green and can't run mana dorks, turning off our mana is a big problem since this deck is very, very mana hungry. We can make up for it a bit with rituals, but we just also have to hope that they don't also have like a Grafdigger's Cage or like a Rest in Peace in play, so that we don't so that we can still access those cards after we've cast them. And then Curse Totem is a hard stop for this deck, or at least for one combo line. Curse Totem is an artifact for 2 generic. Players cannot play any creature abilities that require an activation cost. So this shuts off Gritting Ignis. That means that we cannot activate it to instigate the loop. So these are like definitely the kind of effects that really mess up this deck. So we are trying to go super fast and trying to get under them, or hopefully trying to politic our way to making sure that they get removed if we can't deal with them ourselves. But, like I said, our strength, though, is our speed and our ability to we can drop a 7-drop on the 7-drop Planeswalker in turn 1. So we can go pretty fast, and we're not obviously the best at grinding, but Tibalt on the battlefield is a real serious value engine. So, with that, let's talk about Reiterate and other inclusions in the deck that you might raise an eyebrow at. So, one of them is by Force, a sorcery for X and a red, destroy X target artifacts. So with this, sorry, going through my notes real quick. So this is really like an oh shit button, because if we end up in a pod where there is a stack and they're playing Null Rod or Curse Totem or Aethersworn Canoness, that allows us to deal with those pieces, because Aethersworn Canoness is notably an artifact. So that allows us to deal with multiple pieces, or just pay it for, red and 1 and deal with the immediate thing that's on the table. Scheming Symmetry is a sorcery for 1 black. Choose 2 target players. Each of them searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. So you might say, but Sage, why would you give your opponent a card that they tutored to the top? Well, this card is very fun, it's very interesting, and you only cast this if Tibalt is in play, or if you're looking to win on that turn and your opponent does not have any ways to draw a card that you conceivably could know of, like if they don't have a Rhystic Study. So with Tibalt, Tibalt's +2 ability, where each player activates the top card of their library. Before you activate that, you can cast this, and you can choose you and someone else, and you obviously are going to get the card that you want out of your deck, and your opponent is most likely going to get a land. Or they're going to completely forget and be like, oh boy, I get to get a card. I obviously don't bank on that happening, but I have seen it happen. I have seen people vampiric tutor while Tibalt is in play, and I'm like, listen, I'm gonna go to my turn and exile it. It happens. But I like to think my opponents are smarter. So most likely when you target the other person, they are probably, if they're, have the wherewithal to think like, oh, this is just going to get exiled, you're going to get a land. Which honestly is not that bad, because it's going to guarantee a land drop for you. And which is nice to be able to use the public information rather than, the private information in your hand. Another sort of interesting decision point is, if you Scheming Symmetry, target someone else, you can pretty safely guarantee that they're going to get a land. If you instead choose to do like Tibalt's -3 ability to exile an artifact or a creature, you also have now just effectively messed up that opponent's draw. So it makes for a kind of an interesting decision point where you can kind of psych out your opponents a little bit. But I mean, I would say 9 times out of 10, we're just looking to play this, choose someone, and then exile the top card of our library. putting like Jessica's Will on top if we have the Reiterate in our hand, or putting an Adnaz if we've got access to tons of mana, so we can just turn through our deck and decide how we want to win with a huge grip full of cards. So Scheming Symmetry, very cool card. I'm glad Plasma Beam from the Founders Club suggested it to me, because I totally forgot that this card existed. And yeah, great include. And then the other sort of spells that you might kind of raise an eyebrow at are all of the 1 mana red cantrips. So ones like Crimson Wisp, where you can make target creature become red and make it gain haste until end of turn, draw a card. Expedite, target creature gains haste until end of turn, draw a card. Overmaster, a sorcery. The next instant or sorcery spell you play this turn can't be countered by spells or abilities, draw a card. So this is just an easy way to be able to turn through our deck when we need to try and manually storm off if we can't, if we haven't gotten to our Grinning Ignis yet, if we haven't found the other piece to our combo, we can turn through our deck and try and find ways where we can sort of keep manually building the storm count while not really expending any resources, because if Bergie's out, these are all free draw 1 card spells effectively. The other really cool thing about Overmaster is because the next instant or sorcery can't be countered, you play this, and you're like, alright, if you have 5 mana up, they're gonna guess that you're probably gonna cast Ad Nauseam, and so they're gonna have to decide to waste their interaction on a 1 mana red cantrip, which, feels pretty good. So yeah, they'd have to, they'll waste their mental misstep on this to make sure that the Peer into the Abyss, that the Ad Nauseam can't be countered, or they let it happen and you just draw a card. So this, it being a Briggy Shell, these are, kind of spells that are included that are definitely reminiscent of that. So cards that we are excluding that are sort of staples in the format, one of them are like Animate Dead effects. So Animate Dead is an enchantment aura for 1 in black. An enchant creature in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, there's a lot of text on this card. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it is on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature. God, the text is so small. Put onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. Basically, you get to be like, hey, there's a creature card in a graveyard I get to get it out and put it onto the battlefield under my control. And the enchanted creature has -1/-0. I'm not going to read all that text. It's very silly. So effects like Animate Dead, where we are, we're bringing something back from the graveyard. We're not running because, for one, we only have 7 creatures in the deck. And so while one of our main ways to win is with the creature combo, we already have Underworld Breach in order to play things back from our graveyard. We're also running Praetor's Grasp so that we can, snipe cards from other people's libraries, so that if we, so we can, steal someone else's Underworld Breach if we need to. And so I don't think it's worth it. Speaking of creatures, Dark Confidant, 1 in a black for a human wizard, a 2/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Good old Bob. So I do like Bob. Bob is on the considering list right now to be put in the deck. It just feels a little slow, and if I can play Bob turn 1 or Valki turn 1, depending on the pod, I'm probably going to want to play Valki turn 1, and it doesn't really feel like there's a real good point in the early game to drop this, because I could be doing way better things than just drawing an extra card on each of my turns, But I'm considering it. He's definitely on the list. The two cards that I'm thinking about taking out, this is kind of early tangent, is Mizzix's Mastery and Tainted Pact. And in which case, I'm thinking about slotting in Dark Confidant and what was the other one? Dark Confidant and another one into the deck instead. Dark Confidant and Diabolic Intent instead. So Diabolic Intent, speak of the devil, is 1 in a black for a sorcery. As additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. So the reason it's not in here now is because, like I said, we only have 7 creatures. And so while we are running rituals that require, like Infernal Plunge, that require you to sacrifice a creature to get mana, this deck is so completely mana hungry that we are willing to risk that we might not have a creature on board to sack, or we might have to sack Valki to get mana, because mana more than anything is going to get us where we need to go. But I think, but I am rethinking Diabolic Intent and Dark Confidant. I think it is worth it after I've been playing the deck for about a month-ish. Another card that's not in here, Demonic Consultation. It's an instant for 1 black mana. Name a card, remove the top 6 cards of your library from the game, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you revealed the named card. Put that card into your hand, and remove all other cards revealed this way from the game. So since we obviously don't have access to blue, and we can't do the Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, or Thassa's Oracle, Tainted Pact combo, like, natively within the deck, this card is really just a bad tutor that you could possibly die to. So that feels bad. So, which is also why Tainted Pact is probably going to get the axe soon, is because, I mean, while we can Praetor's Grasp for a Thassa's Oracle, like, how are we gonna make blue mana? You know? Like, I can't, not that there ever isn't a world where I don't want to Praetor's Grasp for a Thassa's Oracle and cast Tainted Pact, but, like, yeah, no, we could be doing so many better things. So, yeah, Demonic Consultation is basically just a bad tutor if you're not also playing Oracle, so not in the deck. Then we also have Opposition Agent for 2 in a black, Human Rogue, a 3/2 with Flash. You control your opponents while they are searching their libraries. While an opponent is searching their library, they may exile the card. They exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. So, it's a cute gotcha. It's really cute with Scheming Symmetry because you can target your opponent. You can cast Scheming Symmetry, target yourself and one of your opponents, and then flash in this Opposition Agent. But that's so much work. When I'm just going to, like, it's a lot of work. And at no point in the game do I really ever want to have 3 mana open. And if I have 3, it's more of a mid-range card. And I definitely don't think it's really worthy of a spot in this deck. Entomb is an instant for 1 black. Search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Yeah, it's a maybe. Since there is so much, like, graveyard hate because Breach is so prevalent, like, Breach is really, like, a backup to try and recur our pieces if it goes late. It's not the main plan. So, yeah, I don't think Entomb just isn't quite there. And then Toxic Deluge, 2 in a black. As an additional cost to cast the spell, pay X life. All creatures get -X/-X until end of turn. So with this, because one of our main lines and one of our main engines are creatures, and specifically with Burgi, we don't ever want, like we don't want Briggy to die, so we want to keep her in place. So for us, for like a straight up board wipe, it's not it's something that can greatly hinder us. So instead of running more like targeted removal for problem creatures like Drannith Magistrate, like for Aethersworn Canonist, are definitely for opposing Hull Breachers and op agents and stuff like that. Target removal is definitely the way to go. I don't think we can justify running a board wipe in this deck. But yeah, and I think that is it. Oh, yeah, let's do some mulligans. So, boo boo boo. Yes. So, looking at some opening hands and seeing, would I keep this, would I not, kind of talk about how I would maybe sequence this. So for this opening hand, we have a Snow-Covered Mountain, Tibalt's Trickery, Arcane Signet, Past in Flames, a Snow-Covered Swamp, Slaughter Pact, which is a destroy target non-black creature for free, and Infernal Plunge, which is a ritual where you have to sacrifice a creature to add 3 red to your mana pool. So looking at this, absolutely fucking not. As we're talking about mulligans here, this deck has a kind of unique process to mulliganing because of the front and back face of our commander. So, of when you would want to play Tibalt versus Valki is an interesting decision point that I'm still working on fine-tuning and learning and practicing when you can get the most value out of which side. So generally, you do want to play Tibalt if you can, or look to play Tibalt if you can, because it is so powerful. So powerful. It is chronically underrated with like the amount of value that this card generates. If you're sitting at the table in a pod and there are at least 2 other turbo decks, you want to mulligan to try and play Tibalt. So that means you want a hand with a lot of fast mana. Because when you exile the things off of the top of their library, oh lord, come on, dog. Not only are you getting access to those cards, but you are actively denying your opponents those cards, which can be such a blowout because you are exiling cards of top quality. You're exiling Demonic Tutors, Mystical Tutors, like Docksides, which are all things that really help us propel our plan forward and really push our opponents back. If you are playing in a pod with more mid-rangey or controlling or Astaxi decks, you're most likely going to want to play Valki first, because Valki will take critical creature cards from opening hands. Even just taking mana dorks can be a huge tempo swing and really kind of a blowout. And I mean, you can turn Valki into a noble hierarch and get the mana. But also the information that you get of all of your opponents. You get to be able to check the coast, check to make sure that the coast is clear before you try and storm off, or know what obstacles are in your path in order to do so, which is incredibly valuable. And also having each of your, because that knowledge is, you're revealing to everyone, your opponents having knowledge of your other opponent's hands is also really interesting, because now, everyone knows what everyone else is trying to be doing, and that takes a little bit of heat off of yourself, which is always fun. So that's kind of, so we have to look at mulligans through that lens of really pod sort of dependent for whether we're looking to play the front or the back side, but we'll basically look as if we're probably looking to play Tibalt, because that's what we're looking to do most of the time. Especially because I tend to play in pods where people are doing other Turbo Nas things. Oh my goodness. These animals. Goodness. Sorry. Next time we'll bring out Camo. She is like a poodle Wheaton, so she's like 30-ish pounds. She's definitely too big to be sitting in my lap, though, this dog that I'm babysitting. And the cat is definitely way too angry to be picked up right now. But let's go to our second 7. So we have Scheming Symmetry, Mana Crypt, Bloodstained Mire, Arid Mesa, Underworld Breach, Arcane Signet, and Reiterate. So what I do when I'm looking at hands is I see if I can count to 7. And by that I mean assemble 7 mana to play Tibalt. And ideally within the first 2 turns. So we have land, Mana Crypt, Signet, that gets us 4. We'll have 5 on turn 2. That's not it. This is too slow. Yeah, no, we can't keep this. It is nice we do have one half of a combo and a tutor to go get the other half. If we had a mana vault instead of that Underworld Breach, that would be really good. Then I would consider keeping this. Or like a Cabal Ritual. Yeah, something. If we had like a Seething Song. If we had a Seething Song instead of Underworld Breach, it'd be real good. But yeah, as it is, we can't keep it. We have to go down to 6. Oh shit. Damn it. I hit the wrong button. Oh, now you all get the... There we go. I'm so good at this. Alright. So we're going to 6. We have Tainted Pact, Dark Ritual, Exotic Orchard, Helm of Awakening, Black Cleave Cliffs, Simian Spirit Guide, and Tibalt's Trickery. Well, no, if we had a tutor in this, I would probably keep it and then play Valki. But since we don't have a tutor, we're going to go to 5. The thing to know, and the thing about this deck too, is you really do want to mulligan aggressively. Because, one of the best hands that we can have in this deck is Jeweled Lotus, LED, in a land. Because that gives us 7 mana to cast Tibalt on turn 1. So, don't be afraid to, push it. Alright, so we're going to 5. Okay. We have Expedite, Reiterate, Demonic Tutor, Past in Flames, Underworld Breach, Verdant Catacombs, and a Swamp. No. We can't keep this. We're going to 4. Alright. This isn't the worst. So Prismatic Vista, Red Elemental Blast, Command Tower, Polluted Delta, Infernal Plunge, Fire Covenant, and Pristine Talisman. So I don't really want to go to 3. We'll stick with this because we have a tutor. We have, and we have at least guaranteed going to be able to cast Valki and play our Wishclaw, so we can play everything pretty much in our hand. So if we're going to 4, we're going to keep Command Tower, Wishclaw, Command Tower, Wishclaw. This is really pod dependent too, of whether or not I keep the Fire Covenant. I don't think I do. Command Tower, Wishclaw. Polluted Delta. And I think we go for Infernal Plunge. It's not a great 4. It doesn't feel good. But those are the 4 that I would go with most likely. We're in Rakdos, so our opponents aren't going to expect us to have interaction anyway. I don't know. Yeah, that Red Elemental Blast might be nice. Yeah, I would go Command Tower, Polluted Delta, Red Elemental Blast, Wishclaw Talisman. Because at the very least, if you play, like, Command Tower Pass, if someone tries to drop a turn 1 Ristic Study, you can try and answer it to make sure that our opponents don't get too far ahead of us. Yeah, with Infernal Plunge, we don't have any creatures to sack to it. We don't want to sack Valki to it because it's basically pay a colorless, a black, and a red to get red, red, red. And so that just, yeah. And we don't have anything to do with that, so that doesn't do anything for us. Alright, let's get a fresh 7. Gosh darn it, I hit the wrong thing again. The worst. The worst. Scroll, scroll. Alright. Ooh. Alright, fresh 7. We have Verdant Catacombs, Snow-Covered Swamp, Jessica's Will, Tainted Pact, Pyretic Ritual, Faithless Looting, Mana Confluence. So, let's see here. Oh, if we had a Simian Spirit Guide, that would be real hot. But we don't. Yeah, no, we can't keep this. If this had a tutor in it, instead of, like, if this had Demonic Tutor instead of Tainted Pact, I would keep this. We won't get to Valki, but we will be, I mean, we'll have a good shot at, definitely a good shot at winning. Alright, second 7. I'm gonna hit the right button this time. Yes! Ooh! Ooh! Alright, so we have Ad Nauseam, Soul Ring, Wooded Foothills, Badlands, Red Elemental Blast, Cabal Ritual, and Demonic Tutor. We are hands down keeping this. So, we would go Badlands, Soul Ring, turn 2, draw something, play the Wooded Foothills, crack for a Blood Crypt, take 3. We'll have access to 4 mana. We could so 4. If we Demonic Tutor, that'll bring us down to 2 mana. Let's see, could I assemble Threshold with this? No, not with this alone. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, not with this alone. Let's see. Yeah, so turn 2. Play the Wooded Foothills, crack it for a Blood Crypt, take 3 damage, play the Cabal Ritual, or not even have to play the Cabal Ritual, but then you can basically hold up the Cabal Ritual and then go for an Ad Naz at the end of turn 2, look to untap to turn 3 with the win. Or we could go another one that I like to do is so on turn 2, after we've got our Blood Crypt in play, we use 2 mana to cast a Demonic Tutor. We can get a Dark Ritual. We can cast we would get sorry, not Dark Ritual. We can get Necropotence. And then we could cast Cabal Ritual, play the Necropotence, and then Necro for a bunch. Hope that we get Simian Spirit Guide, and do we have instant speed, way to make red mana? Oh no, we would need a Helm in the play. Yeah, no, I definitely would go. Yeah, turn 2, looking at the end of the turn before untapping on your 3rd turn to play the Cabal Ritual into an Ad Nauseam. And then if you do that, then you could have a red open to Red Elemental Blast someone who's trying to counter your Ad Naz. So that's pretty good. Definitely good opening 7. All right, let's do one more. I'm going to do it right. Yeah. So we're going to do Verdant Catacomb. God dang it, Pact. Every time I see you, I'm just like, yeah, you really should not be in this deck. Verdant Catacombs, Tainted Pact, Arid Mesa, Twin Flame, Scheming Symmetry, City of Blast, Infernal Plunge. No. We can't keep this. Nothing to sack to Infernal Plunge. For Twin Flame, we need to have another creature in play so we can make a copy of it. So that's basically our Dockside Doubler. No. Second 7, Bloodstained Mire, Yawgmoth's Will, Prismatic Vista, Graven Cairns, Demonic Tutor, Infernal Plunge, Dockside. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're keeping this hand. So turn 1, Bloodstained Mire, crack for a Badlands. Pass. Turn 2, we'll draw something. We can play the I guess we'll play the Prismatic Vista. Crack it for a swamp. Yeah, crack it for a swamp. The thing is, like, there are so many requirements for red and black in this deck. It can definitely feel like a little bit of a challenge to make sure we have black mana. So for your fetches, when you already have your Blood Crypt and your Badlands, go get swamps. It's important. Because black mana is definitely harder to come by because, like, this deck is... The vast majority of it is red, and playing cards that have triple black, like Peer into the Abyss and Bloodstain and Necropotence, you need to make sure that you have lands that tap for black in play. So turn 2, Prismatic Vista, crack it, get a swamp, play a Dockside. Turn 2 Dockside, realistic, depending on the pod, would make anywhere reasonably between 3 and 6. So, say 3 and 6 treasures. Use that, cast your Demonic Tutor, cast your Infernal Plunge, sacking your Dockside. You can Demonic Tutor for an Adnaz now, probably, and cast it. Would be reasonable. Yeah. Alright. Well, this has been fun. I love playing this deck. I love playtesting it. If you're into trying to figure out, like, how to assemble the puzzle with the pieces that you have in hand, this is a very, very satisfying deck to play because it rewards you for thinking creatively, it rewards you for good sequencing, and really punishes you when you don't sequence things correctly. I would know I've lost because of that. But yes, if you have any card suggestions or wondering why something is in the deck or anything like that, feel free to comment on the deck list. I will post the link in the description. You can hit me up on Twitter at Staff of Sage. Tell me about your experiences playing this deck. Tell me about how you just hilariously won or lost. It's always good to hear and get that information from other people who are trying things, who maybe see different lines or anything like that. You know, I love talking about Magic and card synergies and interactions and everything. So yeah, this has been fun. I will probably post like a monthly update to any changes that I've made to this deck as new sets and everything has come out. With Strixhaven, we might be looking to add some cool things in here. We'll see. Hopefully we'll get some new toys. But yeah. Cool. Well, friends, I'll catch you all later. Bye!